In 2006, $26.5 billion was used to finance an educational law, which you may be surprised to learn largely failed to improve our children's education. This act is called No Child Left Behind. It was signed by the Bush administration in 2002, and at the time of signing had bipartisan support, which means both the Democrats and Republicans, they were in favor of this bill. After all, the name promised good things for our children's education. It meant equal education to all children, regardless of their circumstance. According to greatschools.org page, which details the pros and the cons of the philosophy of No Child Left Behind, the philosophy was to introduce national standards to a system in which students in some demographic groups were more likely to succeed and others were to be left behind. But it allowed states to determine how the success is measured. Perhaps in black and white, this statement seems nice. After all, very few would argue that certain children should succeed while others, as the statement of No Child Left Behind, would be left behind. However, how can the national government mandate the standards, and yet they leave it to the state to live up to these standards, and then the states are held to, be at the national level? For that matter, how can one determine that all children learn on the same level? That's impossible. According to earn.web, they say it best by one size does not fit all. The standards either dumb down the instruction to the lowest common denominator or condemn low ability students to frequent failure. In other words, the underprivileged, the English as second language students, and those with special needs, to name a few, will fail. They will be left behind. Since the latter is contrary to the title of the bill, it seems more likely that state standards will drop, which means more underqualified graduates will be in the workforce when they are released from high school. And with America already having a lower standing place on the global industrialized scale, such a decline in standards simply should not be tolerated. Money isn't the only concern about the lack of progress with the act. With such high emphasis on high scores, teachers are forced to teach to test, which means kids are not learning on the basis of learning. They're learning to pass the tests so that the schools will live up to the standards at the national level. So right there you can see there's flaws in that, because our children aren't learning the building blocks of elementary education. They're learning to pass the test. Also, according to the USLiberals.com, No Child Left Behind encourages and rewards children to score well on the test rather than teaching with the primary goal of learning. I know on a personal experience, I have a child that was in 5th grade, and she came home and she said, "Mom, we have to do our ISAT tests. And if we don't do better on our scores, we could lose our school." And I thought, wow, first of all, why does she know that? We're putting such a burden on our children to pass this test. I thought it was just a shame. So there's no emphasis on the importance of knowledge for its own sake. It's just learning to pass the test. And according to Ed.Research newsletter, the education newsletter, the system with high-stake accountability, such as the testing, like the ISAT testing, has a negative impact, and it causes higher dropout rate and lower retention rates, lower motivation, and unethical test preparations, to name just a few. Of course, none of you are in public high school right now, or I should say public school. But I know that most of you, if not all of you, have children in the school system. And so you see the effects that No Child Left Behind is having on our children. According to an article of greatschools.org, it includes any public school receiving Title I funding and generally who have over 35% student ratio from low-income families. So they would be, which fuel totally fits into this category. Most of all, if you're not aware of the ISAT testing, that is what the standard is based on for the school's rating for the No Child Left Behind. As daycare providers, I know that you deal with school-age children. And my question to you is, with this system that they have in place, could there be a system that they put in place that will affect preschool learning, which would then impact most of you? In my speech, I'm going to demonstrate that as it stands, the No Child Left Behind Act is not only inadequately funded, it also lacks other criteria which ultimately is destructive to the well-being of our children and our society as a whole. Hopefully by the end of my speech, you'll leave here with a better understanding of what No Child Left Behind is, as well as be motivated to do what you can to change the system as it stands through simple acts like writing your congressman or getting involved in your schools. So, one main problem with No Child Left Behind is critical lack of funding. As stated in About.com, the Bush administration underfunded the program on the state level, yet is maintaining that schools live up to the national standards. And if not, if they don't live up to it, then they lose their funding. So under No Child Left Behind, if a school is labeled unsafe, which means their scores are not up to par, they have to have a plan, and they have to be able to allow children to transfer to a state school. They cannot be denied because there's no room, and priority goes to high risk academically and low economic status. So what eventually will happen is the state school will become overcrowded, then their test scores are going to go down as these children transfer. So that's a big problem right there. So that's after 1 year. After 3 years, if the school still is not up to par according to the national standards, they'll have to provide some supplemental services like tutoring, summer schools, and on that line. After 4 years, the district takes over, and then after 5 years, the state takes over, which will essentially mean that all the staff will be replaced. Okay, another problem with No Child Left Behind is with the funding, what we're losing is arts programs, field trips, funding in our budgets. Like I know that most of you are aware, not only do we have to provide school supplies, but we have to provide cleaning supplies, Kleenex, garbage bags. I mean, there's a lot more that's put on the parents, and I'm asking, well, if it's low economic families, how does that help? So the list of flaws go on and on, but without conclusive evidence of any improvement, according to greatschools.org, only one state has actually shown an increase in literacy rates, but the dropout rates are higher than ever. So proving that more children are being, in fact, left behind. We all want the best education system. We want the best system possible for our children. But the idea of higher accountability does seem good in theory, but the fact remains the practice of this theory is highly flawed. We need to take action, and on the website, 2008 election.procon.org has a link to the list of congressmen and women who oppose No Child Left Behind. So I would encourage you to do simple things like vote on the next election, vote for people that oppose No Child Left Behind, or they have set standards to improve the system as it lies today. $26.5 billion simply isn't enough to take our children's education away.